Choosing the right color palette to evoke a sense of luxury, warmth, or whatever it is that you'd like your color palette to accomplish for you can be quite overwhelming. After all, there are so many colors, and that's where a consultant comes in. A color consultant, to be specific. Hi, I'm Shelly Hill. Welcome to this episode of Home Sweet Home, where we'll be exploring the wonderful world of color. Stay with us. Today we're joined by color consultant Rushian Diedrich of Rainbow Inc. and she's going to take us through the wonderful world of color. Hi Rushian.
Hi Shelly.
Great to be with you.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about Rainbow Inc. and the concepts behind the company.
Well, with Rainbow Inc., the core of what we do are color designing. To choose the right paint colors for your space, whether it's a home or office or commercial complex. And with what we do is providing color planning solutions for clients. So that means from choosing the paint colors for you to applying the paint colors, as well as managing the paint project until completion. And being a color consultant, what I do is employ a lot of color theory and color psychology, put that all into one, as well as, natural inspiration from nature, whether things I come across on sites, websites, things like that. Because the thing is that you don't want any color in your space.
True.
It's your space. You want to feel comfortable. Even if it's your office, you want to come in and, you feel invited. You want to feel relaxed. At the same time, you want to feel comfortable.
Absolutely.
It has to synchronize with you, and what your space represents, as I said, whether it's a home or an office space.
Rushian, you used two terms earlier that I found very fascinating and I want to know more about.
Yes.
Color theory and color psychology. Tell us more.
Yes. Color psychology, let me start with that. Colors affect us, whether we realize it or not. There's a client of mine, she doesn't want any white walls. It reminds her of when she grew up with her grandmother. I had this other client, he said he doesn't want any red in his house. If no one a duppy run him out of his house. And I found it quite fascinatingly strange, but that's how he feels about it. And then being the type of political atmosphere we have in our country, some persons say outright, Ms. Diedrich, no orange, no green in my house, please. And I have to understand where they're coming from. So color psychology is how the color affects the mental state of the human being. Because what happens is that when your eye absorbs the color, right, and it sends that message to the brain, it all depends on what memory it picks up on in the brain when it absorbs that color. For instance, if you look at some fast food restaurants, they tend to use a lot of oranges and reds.
Yes.
Because what those colors do, they speed up your appetite. They actually increase your appetite.
That's what that is.
Yes, it increases your appetite and things like that. When you go into like spas, they tend to use more blues and they use more muted tones because it puts you in a state of calm. When you go into some Catholic churches, they tend to use a lot of purple tones and lavender tones because those tones are seen as spiritual of nature.
I see.
So colors, they all speak to us, and just a very simple example. Look at the difference when the sun is out and when the sun is gone.
A world of difference,
indeed.
A
world of difference, and even, let's say, on a rainy day when the whole place is gloomy, it really dampens your mood. So gray tones tend to really dampen your mood as well. For color theory, it's about knowing how to mix and combine colors together to get that right synchronicity for the entire color design. And that is to take into consideration the level of saturation of the color, whether in terms of how soft it is or how dark tone it is. In other words, with color theory, it sets as a guide in how to combine the colors. So colors can be combined using 7 different disciplines or rule of thumbs. They're called either direct complements, split complements, diodes, triads, etc. And that's why sometimes I draw for my color wheel, which shows the different techniques you can use, right? So if you set it here, the complement to this blue-violet is this yellow-orange. So you know automatically that these two can work.
I see.
But bear in mind that when you have direct complements of this nature, the level of contrast will be high.
Yes.
Now, if you're someone that doesn't have that type of outgoing personality, you may not be able to actually tolerate that kind of high contrast in your home. Right. So it's best to probably go with something more diode of nature, whereby you may have a blue-green with a blue-violet. That means the two colors that are side by side but are separated by a color in between.
I see.
So you know that these two can work.
But they relate well together.
They relate well together. And as you can see, the different level of saturation of the blue right here.
Yes.
That's what I mean by the saturation of the blue. So it all depends on where on the gray scale that it hits. Is it on the softer gray side, the mid-tone gray side, or the darker gray side? There's a whole lot more I can talk about with color. I mean, it will take days, weeks probably. But color theory, it helps you to understand colors on a very deep level.
Well, since we're talking about learning, tell us a little bit about the studying that you put into this wonderful field.
Oh, geez. Well, first of all, can I tell you, I myself didn't even know that something like this did exist either until I was offered the position to be a color consultant at a paint company that I worked at before branching out on my own in my business. It was actually done via online. I had a very lovely rapport with my color maven. It's sort of like what you'd call a color teacher.
I see.
But the term is called color maven from New York. And she's the one who taught me. And it lasted for about 2 to 3 months, you know, because of certification and things like that. So it was really a lovely process. And you learn about lighting, in terms of how lighting affects color, the textures, the surfaces, whether smooth versus rough, in terms of the fabric, you know, the decor. So that's why when persons hear of my profession, they're like, oh, interior decorator. And I'm like, no, it's not exactly, because with my discipline in color, it's not just confined to decor or paint. I can actually branch out into the automotive industry if I like, or the fashion industry if I like, or even in terms of hair coloring or anything, because I mean, color in itself is universal.
Still more to come on Home Sweet Home. Welcome back to Home Sweet Home. Ruchien, now that you've taken us through the wonderful and fascinating world of color, we're now going to check out one of the great projects that you've done right here in Waterworks, and I'm so super excited to see it and see all the theory in action. I'm must say you've done a wonderful job with the color.
Thank you.
I was admiring the accent wall. I love the way it brings warmth to the space. Tell us a little bit more about that.
To be honest, the reason I chose colors of this nature is because I had to consider my client, what she wants, the mood she wants to create, and her personality. Because the thing is, as a color consultant, you also have to have your client involved in the process of the color selection as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's not a case whereby you're going to impose your ideas, right? You also want to get their input, but at the same time, you can guide them and say, okay, this will not work, this will work, and try to meet what they want. You also have to get into their psychology, because there are some clients, some colors remind them of certain past experiences that they don't want to remember.
I see.
So for this, this client, she's more on the reserved side, meaning that she has a very composed demeanor, but at the same time she has a lot of characteristics going on the inside. That's how she is. And as you can see, she's someone that she likes to balance out between the warms and the cools, but mostly the warms. As you can see in her overall decor, she has a lot of reds, a lot of yellows, a lot of oranges, things like that. And even in terms of the pastel, it's more on the warmer side.
What is your vision for Rainbow Ink, and how long have you been in existence?
My vision for Rainbow Ink right now is just to make sure that persons are sensitized to what a color consultant is right now. It does exist in other parts of the world, like in Europe and in the US as well. I know in Jamaica it's a concept that's not quite familiar here. That's where I want Rainbow Ink right now, in terms of getting persons to know that a service like this exists. But on a grander scale of things, it could possibly turn into a project management firm. Because the thing is, even though the core of what we do is providing the right color planning solutions, it does entail a bit of project management, because we also provide painters for you. If you don't have painters, we source the paints for you as well. And in the event that you're not able to pick up your paint order, we do the delivery as well. So basically, put it this way, you're planning to paint for the first time or repaint, we take it over from the color selection process to the end. You don't have to worry about anything after that.
So it's full service color consultancy.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Who needs the services of a color consultant?
I definitely know homeowners need it. The thing is that persons in this type of economy, in this type of world right now, a lot of persons are working 9 to 5s. And to sit down and go through a lot of color palettes, trying to choose the right colors and things like that, it can be very hectic for them and very cumbersome. For someone like me, I find it fun. You know, it's natural for me. So I know that they will need the service, because having a home project in terms of refurbishing or remodeling, it's quite
overwhelming.
Overwhelming.
Can be.
I've had clients whereby they bawl on me and it's like, Miss Diedrich, I just want to hurry up and finish. And I'm like, don't worry, it will finish. And I'm right here with you every step of the way. So don't worry about it. I know architects as well will find the service quite beneficial as well, because yes, architects, they have a discipline in drawing and that type of creation, and they too will have a bit of knowledge on color, but at the same time their area of expertise is different from mine. So where we can collaborate on a project and I can say, hey, these are the colors I'm thinking for this project that you're working on, things like that. So architects can find it beneficial, contractors can find it beneficial as well, because when they reach the finishing stages of a building or of some units that they have built, then they would usually say, all right, come in at this phase now, help us choose the colors, take it from there.
Tell us a little bit about the process of having a color consultation done. I'm your client for the first time, and I am very energetic, and I need to be inspired. Take me through the process.
Okay, well, first of all, is getting to know the client. I come to my clients, they don't have to come to me. So I'll call you over the phone, speak with you a little bit, get to understand what is it that you want to paint. Is it your home? Is it your office? Is it inside? Is it outside? Is it both? So of course we speak, and I will be asking questions like, hi Shelly, how are you today?
I'm great.
Fantastic. Okay, I heard that you need assistance in choosing paint colors. Is it for your home or office?
I'm gonna go with my studio because I just moved in and I'd like to be surrounded by colors that inspire and energize me.
Another question though, are there any colors that you don't like?
I don't like orange and some shades of brown.
Okay.
Draw my energy, but otherwise I'm open. I love reds and I love warm tones.
Okay, great. It's not a surprise that you don't like orange. Not saying it's a color that can't be liked, but based on statistical evidence, orange is a color that you like it or you hate it. It's a like it or hate it color.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another question I'd like to ask you though is there any kind of mood that you're trying to capture for your space?
Absolutely. My home is my haven, and so I want to be energized and inspired, but I also want to escape. When I'm home, I want to feel relaxed as well.
Is it currently furnished or is not furnished as yet?
It does have a few pieces in.
Okay, great, because the next thing I'll have to consider in terms of the color selection are the pieces that are around in your home or fixtures, whether the tiling, window treatment, the furniture pieces, things like that, because everything will have to synchronize with what's on your wall.
Absolutely, I see.
Right, and the next thing too is you don't necessarily have to have all the colors being played on your wall space. You can actually have a bit of both, where some of the colors are in your decor while some are on your wall, or maybe you could have it all in your decor and just keep your walls more in a range of neutral tones.
I see.
But it all depends on what you want. All right, so we can book the appointment where I now come to your space,
yes,
do a walkthrough, get a feel, take my pictures as to what it looks like at the moment, do a sit down, go through some palettes. So it's more like color storming, a color storming session.
Fantastic.
Yes. And then after we're through with that, it's usually a 1 hour process. And then after that, I revert to you usually within a week. If it is that you need it on more on an expedited basis,
yes,
then I can do that. But usually it's a week. Why? Because there are other projects that I'm also working on at the same time.
Indeed.
Right, so I don't want any overlaps.
And you also want to make sure that you're giving each client, yes, the amount of attention that they need, yes, for their project to be, yes, successful.
Yes, because as I always explain to clients is that painting your walls are relatively a permanent fixture. Not saying that you can't repaint, but it's quite costly. Paints are not that cheap. So when you're choosing the paint colors, you have to be very certain that these are the colors that you want. And that's why with me being in the picture, it makes the job a whole lot easier for you.
Still more to come on Home Sweet Home. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us on Home Sweet Home.
Well, Shelly, based on what based on speaking with you so far, and you have on your red shoes, your red lipstick, and you're quite energetic and bubbly and very bright. Persons of that kind of personality, they would more list towards the reds and the more fun colors. If it's even pink, it's not usually the powder pinks. It's usually more of the real pinks, the natural pinks. Right, not neon pinks, but natural pinks. If it is that you want something with a little bit of coziness, because in your bedroom, you may not want that in your bedroom, but in the rest of your space, yes, you want that energy, you want that vibrance. But in your bedroom, you may want to simmer it down a little. So you can go with blues and greens and yellows, but soft yellows, something buttery.
I like that.
Yes, you can also do that. You can also mix it with a little bit of browns as well, even though you may not like browns of certain tones, but you do have certain browns that are very, very, very lovely, especially browns that have a slight red undertone, yes, to them, or a slight greenish undertone. You have those browns that are really, really lovely.
Well, I do like the shade of, is it tan behind you? It's very rich and
yes, it's sort
caramelly.
Like, it's sort of like a tan. The accent here is sort of like a plum.
Yes.
And then you have that, which is the orange. So you have the counterbalance between the two.
I like this orange, actually. I like the energy that it's giving the rest of the space.
Yeah, because this orange actually has a slight red undertone to it. It's not the true orange in every aspect of it.
It's still warm.
It's still warm.
Absolutely.
It's still actually easy on the eyes. It's not that glaring at all.
Thanks so much for that. I love that.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. All right, Rushian, on the flip side, supposing I was going for a more luxurious feel, I wanted a more opulent environment, how would you advise me then?
Well, it all depends, you know, because as I say, color selections, they're not engraved in stone, meaning that it all depends. There's no rule of thumb that you have to stick by, because at the end of the day, it's about your personality and what meshes with you and what you consider luxurious. Maybe what you consider luxurious is something more pristine, so you may stick to more neutral tones, but of varying tones, maybe warm pastels, cool pastels, maybe some ivories, maybe some off-whites, maybe some bone whites, you know, things like that in your space. And then maybe what you do is just put a little bit of color here and there in the decor pieces of your home itself. Or maybe you could have mostly those pastel colors running throughout your walls, but you have little pops of color here and there. When I say pops of color, I mean accent walls, so not necessarily colors that pop. So it could be something more jewel tone, like emerald green, you know, like a soft emerald green, something turquoise, things like that. If you have a red tone, it could be more like a wine red, but then you could balance it out with something of a warmer pastel tone. In that way, because if you see the things that colors, when they interact with each other,
can give you different effects.
It gives you different effects, exactly. So you may place a red against a white, and the white makes the red extremely popping. But then when you balance out the red with like a soft pastel cream, then what it does, it kind of helps to temper the red, but then at the same time, the red still has its own character going on.
And it stands on its own. Fantastic.
And it stands on its own, yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit about the difference between color consultation for residential purposes and also commercial purposes.
Okay, well, for the residential, it's pretty much directly between myself and the owner of the residential property. For a commercial complex, it's more a dialogue between myself and the contractor. You know, I don't necessarily get in any dialogue with the owner of the property itself, because what they will do is employ or hire a contractor to take on the job. That's the only difference. With the residential as well, it is something more on a private level, because it's your habitat. I mean, that's where you go and you shut out all the hustle and the bustle of the outside world. A commercial space, it's more open, it's more public, it's high traffic. So in terms of choosing colors for both, it will differ.
Absolutely.
It will differ.
And the difference between, to me, residential and commercial color consultation is also taking things like durability of paint into consideration, and the purpose of the colors and where they'll be placed, etc.
Precisely, because for a home, you can get away with using flat paint finishes here and there, depending, because let's say if you have kids, then I'll recommend using low sheen paint finishes throughout your home, because whenever they start messing up the walls,
and getting artistic and getting inspired.
Yes, you want to be able to say, okay, I need to wipe the wall off, you know. But on a different note though, let's say it's just a couple that lives together, or you're a single person who live on your own and you use flat finishes throughout your home. But in places like the bathroom and the kitchen and the washroom, it's recommended that you use the low sheen finishes. Just for sake of clarity, for those who may not know what a low sheen finish is, are those paints that has a slight sheen, not as much as gloss paint, but it has a little sheen and it gives you the affordability to wipe the walls off.
I see.
Right. For a commercial complex, trust me, it's best use low sheen right throughout, or you could use a premium flat finish. It's a flat finish, but it's a tougher flat finish, and those you can actually hose down the wall, anything you like, and maintain the cleanliness of the wall as well.
And that's it for Home Sweet Home this week. Join us again next week to see Rushian's new project from start to completion. You won't want to miss it. Until then, I've been your host, Shelly Ann Hill.